The stars had always watched, silent and cold. Now they were watching humanity. It had been 3 years since the first alien ship arrived in orbit. It was not a warship, nor a gift-bearer. It was a surveyor, cold, calculating, and utterly unimpressed. Humanity had broadcast its presence for decades. Radio waves, satellites, telescopes. Someone had finally listened. The Galactic Concord had come. They called themselves the Keepers of Peace, the Stewards of Knowledge. Their ships gleamed like living things. Their bodies came in shapes that defied human understanding. Some looked like light wrapped in skin. Others moved like water given thought. They sat in judgment more than they sat in conversation. After months of talks, the verdict was clear. Humanity was too young, too wild, too dangerous to be trusted. Among the stars, we were told we could watch but not join, speak but not vote, exist but not belong. Then came the Virelians. They were tall, insect-like beings with glowing skin and voices like wind through trees. Their world was dying. Their sun had begun to fail and no one would help them. The Concord refused. Other species turned away. Aid was denied at every door, until they came to Earth. At first, the response was fear. Why should humans risk everything? For strangers? Many said no, some even rioted. But then something strange happened. People started saying yes. Not just leaders, not just scientists, regular people, farmers, teachers, workers, soldiers. They opened their homes, their cities, their skies. A young diplomat named Ethan Cole stood before the United Earth Council and said, "We've been told we are not ready to be part of something bigger, so let's prove them wrong." The vote was unanimous. Earth would take in the Virelians. It would not be easy. Mars would need new habitats. Oceans would be scanned for compatible zones. Earth itself would change. But for the first time, humanity did not act out of fear or greed. They acted because it was right. And across the galaxy, someone was watching. Someone who had never expected kindness from the species everyone else had, called monsters. And far away on a distant world, another civilization saw what Earth had done. They whispered to each other, wondering if maybe, just maybe, humans were not what the Concord had said. Maybe they were something else, something worth believing in. The Virelians arrived in silence. Their ships were not sleek like the Concords. They were old, tired things, patched with metal that did not match. They landed on Earth like birds afraid to fall. At first there was awe, then fear, then questions. Why are we doing this? What do we get in return? Are we risking ourselves for nothing? Governments worked fast. Zones were set up, safe places where the Virelians could live. Special domes were built for them on Mars. Earth was too heavy for their bodies. The air was wrong. The light was wrong. They tried to adapt. Humans helped. Scientists changed the air in some cities. Doctors studied their biology. Engineers built floating platforms so the Virelians could move without pain. But it was not enough. Many Virelians grew sick. Some died. The people of Earth watched and listened. And they began to feel something deeper than pity. They felt responsibility. Ethan Cole stood before the world again. He spoke not as a leader, but as a man who had made a promise. "We said we would help," he said, "and we meant it. So we will keep helping, even if it costs us more than we thought." And it did cost. Money poured into the project. Jobs were lost in other fields. Food prices rose in some places. Protests came again. A woman named Linda Harper became their voice. She had once fought for her country. Now she fought against it. "Why are we giving our future to aliens?" she asked. "Why are we sacrificing our children for creatures we barely understand?" Her words found ears. Many ears. Some cities refused to take in Virelians. Others built walls around the new zones. Fear turned to anger. But still, most of humanity held the line. Farmers gave land. Doctors volunteered. Kids wrote letters to the Virelians. asking about their stars, their songs, their stories. Then came the moment no one expected. One of the Varelian elders stepped forward. His name was Kelten. He raised his long arms and sang, not in words but in light and sound. And through that song he gave knowledge. He showed humans how to read dying stars, how to slow their collapse, how to save worlds from ending. It was a gift, and for the first time Earth had something the Concord did not word spread. The galaxy watched, and somewhere far away another species looked at Earth and whispered, "Maybe they are not just foolish. Maybe they are dangerous, in the best kind of way." Humans were not supposed to rise so fast. The Varelians had given them knowledge, old, powerful knowledge. And humans did what they always did. They built. Scientists worked day and night. Fusion reactors changed. New energy sources were found. Cities began using light-based power, just like the Varelians. Medicine leapt forward. Diseases that once had no cure now had simple fixes. But the greatest gift was life itself. Kyle 10 shared the secret of bioluminal therapy. It slowed death. Not forever, but long enough to matter. Humans called it the long breath. Some feared it. Others saw hope. Ethan Cole knew what this meant. He stood before the world and warned them. "This is not just science," he said. "This is change. And change scares those who want control." The Galactic Concord heard the news and did not celebrate. They sent spies. They asked questions. They demanded proof. "What are you hiding?" they asked Earth's leaders. "We are hiding nothing," came the answer. "We are sharing everything." But the Concord did not trust. They had seen other species hoard power. They assumed humans were no different. Tensions rose. Then came the first strike. A human freighter was stopped near a border zone. Its cargo was medical, tech, meant for a poor colony in need. The Concord ship claimed it was forbidden tech. The humans refused to turn back, and the Concord opened fire. No warning, no talk. The freighter burned. The crew died. Word reached Earth fast, anger followed. Linda Harper, once a critic of the Varelian mission, now spoke with fire in her voice. "You see," she said to her followers, "we tried peace, we gave aid, and they call us liars. They kill us in space like we are nothing." Others agreed. Governments debated. Should Earth fight back or stay silent? Ethan Cole stood alone in the council chamber. He looked at maps of stars, at the names of dead crewmen. He did not say much. Only this: if we do nothing, we prove them right. If we fight, we must be ready for war. And then another message arrived from the Varelians. They had watched. They had listened. And now they chose. "We stand with Earth," Kale 10 said in his song-light voice. "We will not let our friends die alone." It was the first time any alien species had openly sided with humanity. And across the galaxy, whispers began. Earth is changing. Humans are rising. And maybe, just maybe, they are not the weak ones anymore. Stars were no longer silent. After the attack on the human freighter, silence was no longer an option. Governments across Earth met in emergency session. Protests rose again, but this time, not against the Varelians, against the Concord. People demanded action. Leaders debated it. Ethan Cole stood firm. "We will not beg for peace," he said. "We will not kneel for those who see us as children. But we will not be the first to break." Then came the blockade. A line of Concord warships formed near Sol Space. Sleek, cold ships with no flags, only judgment. They sent one message: stop your work. Return all Varelian assets, or face consequences. Earth answered with a single word: no. Within days, the Varelians finished their pledge. They shared everything. They had technology, weapons, knowledge of war. Humans built fast. New ships rose from Mars docks and lunar foundries. Old defense systems were upgraded. Orbital stations became forts. A new fleet was born. The Terran Defense Fleet, commanded by Admiral Daniel Reyes, a man once known only for his skill in fighter dogfights, now tasked with leading humanity's last stand. He did not speak much. He did not need to. His actions said enough. We do not want war, he told his people. But if they bring it, we will finish it. On the edge of Saturn's orbit, the first fight began. A small skirmish. A patrol ship, fired on by an unknown vessel. No flags, no warning. The humans fought back, and won. Word spread. The battle was short, but the message was clear. Humans were not helpless. Linda Harper, once a voice of doubt, now stood beside Ethan Cole. She spoke to the world. Look at what they tried to hide, she said. Look at what they tried to stop. They fear us because we choose to help. They hate us because we rise. The galaxy watched. Some species looked at Earth with fear, others with hope. In hidden corners of space, messages began to flow. Thanks, please. Offers of aid. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was becoming something more. A symbol, a home, a force. And far beyond the reach of the conquered, someone whispered, in the dark, maybe. The monsters are not the ones we thought. Maybe. The true danger wears light like armor and speaks in silence before it strikes. And maybe, the humans have just begun. Quen 3, 235b A22b1.48. The Battle of Sol began not with a roar, but with silence. A silence broken only by the hum of engines and the cold stare of warships. The Galactic Concord had made its move. They sent a fleet to surround Earth's system, not just a warning, but a promise of force. Their message was clear. Surrender the Varelians and their tech, or be removed from the stars forever. Earth had no choice. Admiral Daniel Reyes gave the order. We hold the line. The first shots came near Jupiter's orbit, fast, brutal, and without mercy. Concord ships moved like shadows, fast, silent, deadly. They struck human outposts, disabled stations, tried to cut Earth off from its own space. But humanity had changed. They had learned, built, grown. Ethan Cole stood in the command center on Mars, watching the feeds. He did not speak much during the fight. He only watched, knowing that what happened now would decide everything. Reyes led from the front. His flagship, the USS Liberty, dove into enemy lines like a knife through ice. Human ships were not as sleek as the Concords. They were rougher, patched together from old frames and new minds. But they carried something the Concord had never seen in humans before. Resolve. Linda Harper was aboard one of the smaller frigates, helping coordinate aid and evacuation. This is not what I expected, she said over comms. I thought we'd die begging for peace. No, came the reply. We die fighting for it. The real battle came when the Concord tried to push into Earth's orbit. They thought Earth would break under pressure. They were wrong. Varelian tech powered human shields like never before. Orbital platforms fired beams of energy that tore through enemy hulls. And then, Kale 10 sang, not a song of sorrow, a song of war. The Varelians joined the fight, their ships breaking from hiding, moving like storms across the sky. The Concord had not expected this. They had thought the Varelians weak, helpless, dependent. They had not thought them allies. The tide turned. In the final hour, Ethan Cole reached out one last time. He broadcast to all ships. Stand down, he told the Concord. Do not want your war. We want our right to exist. Some ships pulled back, others did not. But enough had seen what humans could do. When the smoke cleared, the Concord was broken in spirit more than in steel. They had come to teach Earth a lesson. Instead, they had learned, won themselves. Humans were not the ones to fear, and across the galaxy, the message spread like fire. Earth does not kneel. Earth fights, and Earth wins. Peace did not come easy. After the Battle of Sol, the stars watched in silence. The Galactic Concord had pulled back, but not all of them were gone. Some ships still lingered at the edge of human space, waiting, watching. But Earth was no longer just Earth. It was a home to the Varelians, a symbol to the weak, a warning to the strong. Ethan Cole stood on Mars once more. looking down at the world below. He was tired, but the work was not done. In the weeks after the battle, messages came from places no one had ever heard of. Small colonies, forgotten worlds, species that had suffered under the conquered's rule. They asked for help. They asked if Earth would take them in. Cole did not hesitate. Yes, he said. And so it began. New cities rose on Mars. Orbital stations became homes. Luna turned into a center of learning and peace. Linda Harper, once a voice of doubt, now led the newly formed Interstellar Aid Corps. She trained people not for war, but for welcome. Humans learned to live with the Varelians, not just beside them. Their songs filled the air. Their lights danced across the night sky. Kelten built a great monument on Mars, a living tree made of crystal and light. He called it the Heart of Gratitude. It pulsed with color, changing with the moods of those who stood before it. Daniel Reyes stayed in command of the Terran Defense Fleet, but his orders were clear. We do not strike first. We do not conquer. We protect. His fleet became known not for fear but for safety. Other species sent scouts, then diplomats, then refugees. Earth's new doctrine spread like fire. We do not take, we give, we do not rule, we stand. Slowly, the galaxy changed its view. Some feared humans more than ever. Others looked to them for hope. On distant worlds, children whispered stories of the humans who saved the Varelians. On broken planets, leaders dreamed of escape, not to the conquered, but to Earth. And as the stars watched once more, they saw something they had not seen before. Not war, not hunger for power, something older, something stronger. Compassion, and maybe, just maybe, a future worth believing in. Decades passed like wind through the stars. Earth had become more than a planet. It was a promise, a home, a shield for the weak. The Varelians, once refugees with no world, now walked beside humans as equals. Over time, they changed. Some chose to live on Earth, adapting to its gravity, its air, its light. Their skin dimmed, their wings grew stronger, and their songs became part of human music. They were still Varelians, but now they were also something new, and so was humanity. Children born in space no longer called themselves just American, or Chinese, or African. They called themselves Terran. Children born on Mars looked up at 2 moons and dreamed of places farther away. Ethan Cole lived long enough to see his dream take root. He died on Mars, near the Heart of Gratitude, surrounded by friends and songlight. His final words were carved into the crystal tree. We chose to help when no one else would. That choice made us more than humans. It made us family. Linda Harper led the Aid Corps for years, helping hundreds of thousands find safety on Earth and beyond. She never forgot the day she stood against what Earth was doing, and she never stopped being thankful that she was wrong. Daniel Reyes remained in command until his final days. Under his leadership, the Terran Defense Fleet never fired a shot in conquest, only in protection. His legacy was peace built on strength. Across the galaxy, new voices rose. On a small moon orbiting a dying star, a young girl watched a human ship land. Her people had been hunted, her world burned. She saw the humans step out not with weapons but with open hands. She heard the stories, how they saved the Varelians, how they stood against the Concord, how they gave without asking for return. As she took the hand of a human aid worker, she whispered to herself, "I want to be like the humans." Far away on Earth, a teacher in a small town showed her class a map of the stars. One child pointed to a distant world. "Did we help them too?" he asked. The teacher smiled. "Yes," she said. "We did." And across the endless dark of space, the stars kept watching, and this time they saw hope.